Hey guys, welcome to the Nutritionist Podcast with me, your host, Ishmael. On today's episode, we have Gennaro, a nutritionist who has a holistic approach, which focuses on preventing all diseases through nutrition and fitness. I'm really excited to have this guy on. He's really, honestly, one of the coolest people to talk to, has amazing opinions, and just someone who I genuinely very much respect. And so, if you guys like this kind of content, remember guys, share, subscribe, like the video, and obviously comment, share your feedback, and obviously if you are a nutritionist, dietitian, and you want to speak about your career and obviously all the difficulties as well as all the successes, as well as some little tips and tricks for other nutritionists out there, please don't hesitate to contact us and get in touch. All the information is in our description, along with all of Gennaro's fabulous links to his Instagram, Facebook, and obviously his links to his website and other things like that. So really excited to have this episode, guys, and again, I hope you enjoy. All the best. This podcast is brought to you by NutriAdmin.com, the all-in-one software for nutritionists and dietitians that allows you to run your practice effectively and all in one place. Today, we have a very special guest, all the way from Italy and back here in the United Kingdom. Gennaro, can you please introduce yourself? Because this is a really, really fascinating guest, and we've been so
Okay, so
grateful to have you
interesting.
on.
Yeah, so thank you. So interesting because you mentioned like I'm Italian. So I have to tell you that actually if I have to start to tell you about like my education background, like I have to
Mhm.
split it like between Italy and UK because of course like from Italy like I was a nutritionist as well like in Italy.
Mhm.
So actually my educational background like start like being like a biologist. So I had
Mhm.
like a master degree in Italy as a biologist, and then like I was
Wow.
proceeding like for like 4 years specialization in nutrition, in nutritional science.
Mhm.
And then anyway, then I start like my career, like I will tell you later on.
Mhm.
But UK, I decided to come here. Was like, why not? Let me take like something else. So I decided like to give, you know, to get another like Master of Science, like in human nutrition and sport nutrition. And
Ah.
actually I'm also a personal training because I completed a diploma for level 3 personal training. Anyway,
Wow.
this is
Yeah.
like a kind of like the basic education background. I did like some other like courses, about supplements, about like flower therapy. But anyway, the most relevant one at this one. Let me tell you now about like my work experience, like
Yeah.
at least
Please
like
go ahead. Yeah.
the most
Gennaro, we'd
relevant
love to hear
one.
it.
Okay, so since last 17 years, I've been like a nutritionist. So first of all, let me tell you, this is what I love to do. When I tell you about like nutrition, I mean like diet, but when you talk about diet, like I've been working with like private patients, but when I tell you
Mhm.
about diet is not just about like weight loss.
Mhm.
Weight loss is
Mhm.
like sometimes the people think like, oh, I have like to be on diet. Diet is a lot of stuff. You can have like different issues. You can be like, with the right weight, you have like many other issues. Then I
Mhm.
will tell you later
Mhm.
on why I think that a nutritionist is like a kind of professional. You can always get like some benefits. You
Yeah.
book an appointment with a nutritionist, you will get like some benefits.
Mhm.
And to be honest, like it's like sometimes I think like a nutrition is like 360 degrees. Like you go to a
The whole
nutritionist
circle. Yeah.
and yes, and he can also like decide to redirect you like, oh, you need like uh, an endocrinologist, you need like a cardiologist. So I mean like let's put him in the center.
Mhm.
Let's him to decide like what next. Okay, so this is like basically my work experience about like my. Let me tell you, like
Mhm.
I don't want to use the word like private, like work experience,
Mhm.
but
Mhm.
apart from that, I've been working like for NHS here in UK, like from
Oh,
obese
wow.
patients to malnourished patients. So
Yeah.
I saw
Yeah.
like
Wow.
both because people sometimes think like obese, like obesity is like the main issue. Is not.
Yeah.
Come on, I can tell you, like I work with like I did like the opposite work. So when you work like with malnourished patients, you have people that they don't absorb. So it's crazy.
Oh,
Like you do
okay.
like the opposite job. You need like to push as much calories, but not like in a normal way. Because if you just push calories, they will not absorb. So
Uh-huh.
anyway, I don't want to tell you that obesity is like is the main
The
issue.
only thing. Yeah.
The
Well, we
same
know it's not.
way,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
it,
We know it's not, and it's
yes,
actually
and
very
let me
fascinating you say that. Yeah. Go on.
Yes,
Yeah.
and also let me tell you something else. Sometimes like I used to like to work with like sportmen. I mean, people they want like to build muscle mass. You know what? That
A lot of
kind of like
bodybuilders. Yeah.
yes, I don't used to go like that. I used to give like a nutritional plan because I used to say like, you know what, like you would be challenged like if you have like to lose weight, but to put on like muscles, the diet plan is very challenging because you need to like follow strictly. Maybe you need supplements, maybe you need like to have like a proper lunch, a proper dinner. You can just like swap. So like to put on, and of course you need gym.
Yeah, of
So
course. Yeah.
sometimes I used to say like this kind of nutritional job like is the most challenging one, like to put
Yeah.
on muscle mass.
Can I actually
Anyway,
ask you a
so
question?
I
Actually,
work like
I
all
wanted
my
to.
life.
Yeah, I wanted
Yeah.
to actually ask you about that because actually this is a very an interesting thing you mentioned because I actually also used to be a personal trainer. I got my level 3 when I was
Oh,
probably 18 years old, and I remember I used to want to be the biggest bodybuilder ever. I think I had this big aspiration that I wanted to be on the Olympia stage. That was kind
yeah.
of
Oh,
my
come
big dream
on.
when I was young. But obviously that dream has kind of long gone at this point. But I remember quite diligently when I was training and whatnot, hearing a lot of these people talk to me about the importance of diet in order to build muscle mass and all these sorts of things. And I don't know if you ever heard this old term that kept on being flown around in the gyms. I always heard this in the gyms. It was 20% gym, 80% kitchen, or something like that. I don't know
Yeah.
how true would you say that is?
Did you say kitchen? You didn't just say like food. You said
The
kitchen.
kitchen, yeah.
Yes, because probably it's not just about food. Because look, I can tell you something. Whenever like to be on a diet, it's not just about eating. It's about like prepare like in the right way. When you work with children and you give like also like if you normally on a diet, you have like some kind of like like chicken breast in a plate like with some like salad, without fantasy, without nothing, like you can go on like 1 month, but finally, so you said kitchen, it means
Yes.
like preparation,
Yeah.
because so how can you just like be on a diet also like as a bodybuilder if you don't prepare your meals like properly? You see like, oh, fantastic, how many colors, this kind of like chicken breast is like kind of like, so yes, the right answer is not just food 80%, it's kitchen and food 80%. Yes.
Absolutely. I mean, it's nail on the head. And this is kind of, was it the personal training that kind of inspired you? Were you originally a nutritionist and then became a personal trainer, or was it, because for me it was a journey of fitness first. It became fitness was my main thing. I remember when I became a personal trainer, that was my big thing. It was all about fitness. And then obviously I was a young man. I didn't really understand nutrition back then. And I kind
No.
of, that's what kind of guided me to become a nutritionist and then go to university and study all these things. But was the story a bit different on your end? How did you kind of go from
No,
one
no,
to the
no.
other?
Nutrition is basic. Let me tell you something. When people want to like to build muscle, the
Mhm.
first thing they think like, I need like to increase my muscles. So, but they don't think about something called like catabolism, like this difficult word. It's about like
Mhm.
losing muscles.
Mhm.
So if you put on, like muscles
Mhm.
and you reduce muscles, it's like, it's about, so when you do your workout, you need to be sure that you increase your muscle, you don't decrease,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
it's
yeah,
called
yeah, yeah.
catabolism. So gym can only like basically help you a lot, like to increase your muscles, but to
Mhm.
avoid like catabolism, you can do a kind of like job in gym, like, but it's about diet. Let me tell you something, like if you
Mhm.
train like properly and you don't eat enough, I mean, like you don't drink enough water, you will lose muscles because muscle need a lot of water. So look,
Oh.
you train like properly,
Mhm.
you build like muscle mass, and you don't drink, and you lose. You lose
Oh,
muscle mass.
there you
Come on.
go.
Or for example, like if you introduce like there are like some kind of like all the people know about like brain chain amino acids. What's that? These three amino acids, like the people, like I mean, like when you train, like I use all the like the essential amino acids are 10.
Mhm.
Okay,
Mhm.
this is something I don't know. Like for the people don't know, we have proteins, but
Mhm.
like the proteins are all told the same. You can have fish, you can have meat. Like, what's the difference? Like, it's protein. No, no, it's not protein. There's like a precise, like, like balance about like different amino acids. Okay,
Yes, of course.
so
Yeah,
you
yeah,
need
yeah.
like at least 10, at least 10. 10 are like the main ones.
Yeah,
From the
essential
others, I
amino
mean, from
acids. Yeah,
this, you
yeah.
yes, from this you can do all the non-essential amino acids. Okay, so when you eat, you need like to introduce all these amino acids. So if you eat properly, that's fine. If you don't eat properly, like I mean, like your muscle when you train, you will use like a lot of like these three like basic, I mean, all of them, but especially this. So why, for example, like we are careful. I don't want to talk about like supplementation, but sometimes people just use supplement because they don't have time. So if you have time like to do like a proper nutrition, you can be sure you will guarantee yourself all these essential amino acids, especially like these three, and will not like boost your catabolism.
Yeah. Okay.
So
Are you saying it's like,
why nutrition?
Would you suggest then, from your perspective, a good diet is better, way better than just supplementation? If you're, for example, only some people might need
Yes.
supplementation, but if you can't, realistically, you don't need supplementation, is what you're suggesting. Is like if you have a good diet and it is balanced and all these things are
Oh
correct.
yes, but the problem like you can ask me like, so why if you tell that like why the people like say like supplementation based, because especially here UK we don't have time like to do like a proper lunch, like a proper break, because have a proper breakfast, have a proper, because these kind of people they should be eating like a breakfast, meat mid morning, proper lunch. And the lunch you need to have like not just like carbs, proteins, the same like in the afternoon. And then I go to gym like 7 like PM. Okay, 1 hour prior like to do your workout, you should have like a kind of proper like break, like you should eat. Then you need to have a dinner like, just after. So the people say like, yeah, yes, but after gym I need to go somewhere. Like I saw you need like use like protein powder, because it's also about the
Some people,
time.
yeah,
It's not just
yeah.
about eat. It's about like straight away after your training, you need like some appropriate carbs, some appropriate proteins,
Absolutely.
like amino
Yeah.
acids. The
To
same like
encourage
prior
growth. Yeah,
to,
yeah.
you can eat. Yes, you can eat like, for example, like 3 hours before your training, and then you go to train. That's why the people have to use supplements, but not because it's like mandatory, like you said. Yeah, like you
Absolutely.
asked.
That's great. No, from your perspective, what do you think constitutes the role of a nutritionist? I mean, outside of so there are people, as you mentioned, who have specific nutritional disorders. Maybe it be obesity, maybe it be a sense of malnourishness almost. And there are other people who just want to grow for the sake of aesthetic purposes. So let's say
Yeah.
they want to grow muscle. But what do you think? I mean, moving outside of these three, what do you think constitutes the role of a nutritionist in sort of a modern practice for the general everyday man, the layman?
Okay.
What would you
I
say
was
that? Yeah.
really I was really waiting for this question because, like, let me tell you, I was already answering about time, but I think a nutrition is basic. Why is basic? When you go to a nutritionist, let's consider a nutrition like a professional uh, helping like to speed up and improve like the job of all other medical professionals. You know, so
Yeah.
I mean, like every time you have like a kind of like also like let's say like nutrition related like health issue is about diet. Okay, so this is the kind of role like I think like as a nutritionist. So let's say that I may say like as a nutritionist, I can just like avoid that people help the people like to prevent like many chronic diseases. You understand my point? Because I mean, like when you got like diabetes, it's late. You need to go to, like to a specialist. If you got like
Yeah.
some kind of like liver issues, you need to go there. But how can you avoid like I don't know, to have like steatosis? Okay, steatosis is like a liver fat. How can you avoid like if you go to nutrition, you go like some blood test, you start like to have like a proper diet, and you don't get that there. So prevention.
It's
Okay,
prevention. Right.
we told we told okay, let me just like tell you something about like be like we are kind of like after pandemic. I don't know if you can say like the pandemic, we are even like but we said a lot about like, okay, yes, like we need vaccine, but how can we like kind of like prevent or get on like better like if we get COVID?
Yeah. It's
you
it's a
know
prevention.
First of
Yeah.
all,
Yeah.
I mean, if you are strongly overweight, it's more likely not that you will get COVID, that the COVID will affect you a lot. So it's about diet, it's about like proper nutrition, it's about like to have like a lot of like nutrition related health issues affect a lot, like, like COVID when you get COVID. So I
I
want to
mean,
tell something about COVID because it's important.
go for it. No, I want to hear it. Let's hear it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I
No, no,
mean,
no, no. It's okay. It's okay. I finished. But
oh,
it was important, because sometimes the people, there are many, many studies also about like, like when you say like, okay, when you got COVID, you will be like struggling about like breathing.
yeah.
Everything is about
Yeah.
like nutrition related health issues. You go
They
to like
did.
diabetes, you go to like
You
all
make a
this
great
kind
point.
of like
Yeah.
chronic disease.
You make a
Yes, all
great
this kind
point.
of brain disease.
You spoke very, very eloquently about that, actually. I mean, the notion that it's a prevention strategy. Actually, nutritionists are more upstream health consultants in that sense, and in the way that a doctor is a very downstream health professional, because what they do to some sense is deal with what already exists. So, someone has to be ill to go to see the doctor. The illness would have already have to have formed. And if it's a nutrition related illness, let's say, for example, diabetes, type 2, and obesity, and you have heart disease and all these things that are developing, and obviously that's a more downstream component. So you have to go see the doctor where you're prescribed medications and whatnot. So what you're saying is, well, a nutritionist for the general individual should be way more upstream. You go to a nutritionist when actually you're fine, and actually you're starting to change your diet and to actually improve that in order for you to prevent the onset of these sorts of chronic diseases, is what you're essentially saying. So what in your end, from your perspective then, we know the role of a nutritionist. So then from your perspective, what would you say defines then a good, or dare I say, a great nutritionist, as opposed to the bad ones? Because we know that there are so many health professionals out there, and each of them have their own styles, but there must be, from your perspective, rules as to what constitutes, in a way, a good nutritionist, and then what constitutes then a very poor nutritionist. And I want to know more about, from your perspective, how do you define what is a great nutritionist, from your perspective in industry?
Okay. You can have like the best, I mean, like not the best. You can have like a great nutritionist, and you can have like the best nutritionist, like very well used like to your circumstances. So I think there is not like the best nutrition. You can have like a great nutritionist, the one like, oh, look at that, like television was like, I think it's a very good one. But when you work with someone, you can say like, I'm being your best nutritionist. Why? Because it's about like, if you will be working with with a great one, you will not get result. What can you say? You can say like he's a great nutritionist, but he was not like a well sweet like to me. So why we can say like I'm the best one like for you? Because first of all, for me, nutrition needs to have like empathy. Build a kind of rapport. We need to become like my philosophy is like we need to become kind of like friends, not like real friends, but friends. When I was like, look, I work a lot remotely. When I was working like face to face, I was using like to go. Let's put you on my page. I was coming like on your side, and that was like not like there is the desk in between me and you. This was a kind of way to show like, look, we're friends. Like let's try to brainstorm together. Like we're going to do now. You would say like, yes, but you work remotely now. Yes, but there is like another advantage. You are to your place. I enter your place. You can be on your sofa. You can be on your bed. Like it's like you are like in a comfortable environment. Environment is fundamental because when you are in your place, you feel. You know what I would say? Like let me just like jump on another side. When we talk about diet, okay, I can be sure about like to introduce like the right amount of calories, macros, also vitamins, minerals, all this kind of stuff. I can prepare for you like the best diet, like talking about like macro and calories. But diet is not just about that. It's not just about a piece of paper. First of all, diet has to be sustainable. I will tell you. So what does that mean, like sustainable? If I prepare a diet that like, oh, you know what? I can prepare for you a diet that you will lose like 4 kilograms like by next week. But the problem is that like maybe this diet is not sustainable for you because like there is something just something. Let me give an example. Oh, I love like cheese, so it's taking off cheese, so you will be not doing the diet. So what's it about? But this is stupid example. You can ask me like a double like free meal. So what's the point like to aim like to 4 kilograms if I will reach like 0 kilograms? Let's prepare like one diet. I will be focusing on 1 kilogram. This is like this mean like sustainable. And I will get 1 kilogram because like, oh, you will say like, oh, it's a good start. Anyway, diet was sustainable. I was eating cheese. I was eating like, a couple of 3-4 times like chocolate. Anyway, so over time you will say like, you know what? I feel like, okay, maybe I can take the cheese off. I can just like overeat like once a week, and so you build, in this case, what you're doing, confidence. I mean, like the people will start to have like self-esteem because the people think like, oh, I'm not good at the diet. Oh, I think like I will never lose weight. So if you start like to make them to get the result. They will have like confidence. Oh, so I can do that, and they will start to be like motivated, because the point of a diet is make so that people keep being motivated. So
Absolutely.
self-confident, I mean, like
Hmm.
motivated, and also like something like is basic, like to start the process, is to teach the people how to manage like all the like food related emotion, like
Hmm.
comfortable
Hmm.
eating. So sometimes like you overeat, you say like, oh come on, how is possible? Every Friday I overeat like chocolate. Why? In my diet, like every Friday is like first day, like have this breakfast, this lunch. What is happening? Sometimes I ask the people, do like a proper diet, like emotion diary. So, and then you find out that, this is something, I didn't tell you. You find out like on Friday, always is coming that friend that you don't really like, but every Friday is coming. And after that, you go on chocolate. And then you say like, come on. So it's like, what does that mean? Like, yes, it's the friend, because like your diet is the same. It's the same. What's
Yeah.
the difference? So if you start to do like a kind of like hunger diary, you would say like dinner time on Friday, your scale is like, I don't know, maybe it's 8, and
Uh-huh.
on first
Uh-huh.
day like is 4. Why? What's the difference? So that is not just about like calories.
No,
You know what I mean?
exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So anyway, there is a lot of like of stuff like to talk about. So anyway,
Absolutely.
the diet has to be sustainable. So if I help you
Absolutely.
out with this, like to create like a sustainable, but how can I create a sustainable diet? Let's put an example. Tell me everything you need. You know what? I was thinking like, can you give like a couple of times like a sandwich? Because I work, I work remotely, but on Tuesday and on Thursday, I need sandwiches. What's the problem? Let's do it. If I don't give you, how you gonna do? Oh, can I ask you, like, I love chocolate. That's okay. So I used to say, like, tell me everything you need, and I will tell you if you can and the way you can. For
Hmm.
example, if you ask me chocolate, I would say, like, okay, that's fine for you. I will give you chocolate, but can I ask you, like, to buy like 85, percent, like, dark
Cocoa, yeah.
chocolate?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
can you
yeah.
ask, can I ask you, like, to have in the morning and not like, after dinner? It's a balance. I give you something, you give me something. This kind of
It's
stuff.
a,
Anyway, there
a
is a
quid
lot,
pro
like,
quo almost. And that's
yeah,
it's
yeah.
a great way of saying it because actually,
Like with the
yeah,
children, how you do with the children? I
exactly.
want chocolate. Okay, have some vegetables. I will give you like chocolate. We are like
Yeah.
children. When it's about diet, nutrition, we are about children. It doesn't matter. Adults,
Adults, yeah, we're
children
all the
is the same.
same. We all, I think it's because people often forget to recognize that food is a carnal need. We need it to, in every part of our lives, and
Yeah,
it takes over more than just the sense of discipline. And I think that, you touch on a really good point. A lot of diets today that exist are very on the extreme side. They call for a lot of discipline, and for the, unless if you're a professional athlete in that sense, discipline is completely understandable. If you're someone who like is a generally very disciplined individual, then having a very disciplined diet is absolutely fine because that's sustainable for you mentally. But for the everyday individual, you make a very good point that actually, the everyday individual doesn't have that capacity to have that such levels of discipline to want to cut so much that they end up removing all the foods that made them happy and made them joyful. And actually, you really touched on a great point of actually giving people not just a sort of a relationship with food that is healthy and sustainable, but actually one that gives them something that they don't feel as if it's a task. They almost feel as if, this is a reasonable request to
yeah,
cut certain things down, but not to actually remove things that they love from their life. So let's say I remember hearing when I was, training for a bodybuilding competition, all these crazy things about you don't eat this, make sure you have this much this and this much this. And, I remember at one point my diet was consisting of chicken, broccoli, and rice. That was it. That was it. And I remember feeling,
oh,
despite the fact that I was probably putting on about, half a kilo a month, and it was good. It was good weight. I looked amazing, but I felt emotionally very, very, very distressed. The level of anxiety in my system, I was stressed. And what that, as with stress, it does build up, and especially around the visceral areas in the lower belly. And I noticed that I
yeah,
was
it's not
putting
a
on
bad I
I
said.
was I was putting on weights in weird areas, and I was like, why? When did I get these? And I realized it was actually because, not necessarily because of my diet, but actually because of my levels of stress. My stress was causing
Yeah,
really unhealthy outputs in terms of my physique. And I recognize that actually you have to enjoy food, because at the end of the day, what's food for? We have a good relationship with food. We shouldn't damage that relationship. I wanted to actually touch upon primarily something a little bit different though. I wanted to know more about you, Gennaro, in terms of your strategy and your approach and what
Yes, I
areas you
was a
focus on.
I will tell you, but you just let me just like you something else. You said like discipline.
Mm-hmm.
Let me give another example. This is what like the people don't like, especially when they start a diet.
Mm-hmm.
Look, for example, if you're in a diet, and I say you say like like I like chocolate, and I say like what I will put for you every day my way like some dark chocolate,
Mm-hmm.
for let's put like 5 days per week. After a couple of weeks, you come. You know what? I didn't have like any. And say why? Because if you have the chance to get, but
Mm-hmm.
actually you know that it is not right to have chocolate, you don't get chocolate. But if
Mm-hmm.
I'm not gonna give you, you will have more. So discipline. So sometimes you say like, because you say like, oh, it's crazy. He gave me like chocolate 5 days like per week. How is possible? And then you start to think like, yes, but you know what? And then you don't eat chocolate. It's a kind of like strange thing, but easy
Mm-hmm.
working a lot. Okay.
Wow, wow.
I tell you something that anyway, also this is like part of my strategy. And anyway, I was already talking about the strategy, but let's go specifically like about the way we work. I'll do
Mm-hmm.
about a lot of strategies, like how to help people. I will also tell you about how to help people to not to get from, to be wrong. But about my strategy, let me tell you, like, first of all, I do the diet myself because like I said, like, I speak to you, everything has to be sustainable. If you have like a kind of like problem, I can
Mm-hmm.
change. So in my diets, you will never have like the same like calorie. My diet are not like calorie based, so I can know how many calories you know, but I prefer to know like how many calories you need like weekly, not daily.
Not daily.
So why?
You take a weekly approach. That's
No,
very
no, no.
interesting. Yeah. Wow.
Yes, weekly probe. For example, like I can give you like much more calorie. Wow, why? Wait. Okay, let me tell you something. Low calorie diets, like for a prolonged time, help you to lose weight, but lower the metabolism. That's not good. You know how does it working? Like the
Mm-hmm.
highest metabolism, the more like you lose weight, especially when you exercise. Then, of course, like let me tell you something else. I don't really love to talk about like like protein diets, like because if I give you like for 1 month like a diet like with a lot of proteins, I will take in consideration that, and the next month maybe I will ask you, oh, let's do like some kind of like vegetarian days. You know what does it mean? So, for example, like I try like to balance. If I give you like too many proteins, I can have like a few days like after 1 month when I will give you just like, I don't know, like fruit, vegetables, like nuts, this kind of stuff, like to balance.
Mm-hmm.
Or
Mm-hmm.
for example, like, oh, I myself like 50% vegetarian. Okay, I'm not saying that because like for me it's like a good thing, but like meat, fish is about digestion. So I'm 46 to be honest. So when you have not telling me like this kind of like very good digestion, you start to say, you know what, I don't want really eat like because proteins are important,
Mm-hmm.
but that means like every day I need to have proteins. Why not to try to have like some kind of like more digestible protein? So it's not about a be vegetarian. It's about like when you use like this kind of like a veggie like foods, you digest properly. To be honest, it's also about like time management because this kind of food you don't have like to eat and overcook like when you have like chicken, when you have meat. So time
Mm-hmm.
management. You have this kind of food, easy, quick. Anyway, so my diet is about that, and also let me tell you something else. Also, like the calories distribution, the macronutrients distribution, like throughout the day, is different.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to expect that you have like like I don't know, like 2000 kilocalories like equally distributed like throughout the day. You can have like most of the calories like breakfast and lunch time, and a minimum of calorie like dinner time.
Mm-hmm.
So finally, let me tell you again, the focus is about like you need to lose weight, but you need to keep being like with a high metabolism.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
if during a diet your metabolism will be lower, you need to think about like what should I do like to change that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. No, you make a really
And
good point. Yeah.
finally, yeah, and finally, let me tell you something about muscle. The people think that, yeah, I don't need muscle. Sometimes I have people, I have like these big legs. How can I like reduce the muscle? Never do that. Come on. Normally, I used to say like the muscle are like it's like an engine. Like the more you
Ah,
have,
yeah.
the
Yeah.
highest the metabolism. Why? That's why, like we say, people you do physical activity because you can do like the best diet, but if you don't do like a minimal of physical activity, it's difficult. You keep like you can just preserve like the same amount, you're gonna lose like some muscle mass. And the more you lose, the more your metabolism will be like lowered. You know, when we talk about like yo-yo effect,
Yeah.
what's yo-yo? So it's when the people go like up and down, and then finally they will say like, oh, come on, 10 years ago my weight was like 80 kilograms like now, but now I'm like kind of like so fat. Why? The weight is the same. Why? Because in the last 10 years you've lost like a lot of like muscles, and you replace this muscle with just fat. So you got like the same body weight, but the percentage of your fat is so higher.
Well, I mean, it's,
This is another thing. So
you touch on a really good point about that sense of individual response. And I suppose the fact that, again, you mentioned, you go back into that topic of, it's about making sure it's a sustainable loss. And how,
yeah.
in that sense, I actually wanted to, kind of very perfectly transition onto this notion of, from your experience with some of your clients. And I mean, this podcast is going out to a lot of other nutritionists and dietitians who may be thinking about starting their own business, going into their own private practice, or maybe those who are looking to resonate with kind of other nutritionists who are also working within this field. And they all want to know, what are the biggest challenges, would you say, in terms of some of the clients that you've come across, and what are the big limitations, and how do you work around those limitations? If you understand what I
Well,
mean with that.
give me again some example about like limitation you talk about, like, because
So,
it's
I mean, primarily what I mean is, obviously you have your practice and you have clients that come to meet you, and in those situations, a lot of clients, some are very receptive to the message that you're trying to promote, and some may not have that response. And I suppose you touched upon it before in regards to when you discussed
yeah,
rapport and
yeah.
how you have to build rapport, and sometimes if that doesn't happen, then you kind of risk a very unsustainable relationship with your client. But what I wanted to know is, what are the sort of challenges that you've come across in terms of the
Uh,
clients that you've come across, and how did you work around them? And were there some clients that you were like, I can't help you, I really can't, and there are others that you thought this is going to be a very hard challenge, but you found a way? So I wanted to kind of delve into that and really get an understanding
okay,
of that. Yeah.
let me try to answer. First of all, the first appointment is very important when you do like when you try to set everything, and also like mental and emotional setting. I already told you about like something about that, but what is important, I used to say like, okay, as a my client, as a my patient, I'm going to say like, don't lie to me. You know why? Because every time I will see you, depending on all the feedback, because I used to give like, you look, these are the kind of feedback you need to give to me like next time, number one, number two, number three. So every time I will ask about that. So all the feedback you will give me, I will use like to because every kind of like weekly or like 2 weeks I change the diet, because for me the diet is like each 2 weeks at least needed to be changed. So in 2 weeks I will have to change your diet. How will change? Like, you will tell me your stuff. So if you will lie, the diet change will be not appropriate. So don't lie to me, because the more you will be like sticking like to what you did, the more I will help. Also, if you will tell me like, you know what, I was struggling a lot, like I had like a double, because normally I used to get like a free meal, or like I was having chocolate because I was struggling. Maybe you will tell me that, I will find a way, because like let me give another example. Okay, I need chocolate. Okay, that's fine. Maybe you just having like normal like milk chocolate like nighttime. Probably I will tell you, you know what? First of all, are you having breakfast? And they say like, no, I'm not having breakfast. So when you don't have breakfast, there is like kind of like hormones called serotonin. Okay, when you don't have breakfast, it's like your brain will produce less serotonin. It's like, the mood. Let's go like mood. You know,
Mood
hormone.
regulator. Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
if you yeah, but so if you have like less serotonin, it's more likely that evening time, night time, you will have chocolate. You will need chocolate. So first of all, let me give you like an advice. I was not giving you. See, we're not telling about chocolate. Let's have breakfast, because maybe you're not having breakfast because you think like, oh, I will. I don't really want. So if I don't have breakfast, I will lose like my weight. So first of all, you do that. Secondly, can you buy for me like dark chocolate, like 85%? Ah, yes, yeah. It's okay for me. It's the same. Let's buy it. Tired. When it's about carb, it's about like something, I don't want to use like the word, like glycemic index. So it's strange, but if you have like, I don't know, like, let me put like a piece of celery, like before your chocolate, it's kind of strange too, isn't it? In this case, that chocolate will magically become like more dietetic. Why? Because is about like sugar absorption. I have this kind of chocolate. How much like quickly I absorb sugar from chocolate. The more quickly I will absorb, the more I will have like an insulin peak in this kind. Sorry for the word, like insulin. The insulin is the focus. Like the more insulin is like produced from yourself, like the more you will get of weight. That's why. So I will try to evolve. So look, you told me about your chocolate, like struggling. I gave you like some strategy, like to to get better about that. So this is why when I tell you that is less likely you will lie to me. So this is the first thing. Normally, then I used to say like, another challenge. This part of that was so difficult. You just tell me every difficult, because now we have like, this kind of like, there are not anymore like IT issues. There is WhatsApp, there is email. So normally to say like, okay, you take this, you ask me a question, or you take this screenshot of a diet, or just like a picture, you put like an arrow and you say like, oh, can you explain me better about that? I used to like to send like a voice message and I explain everything. So finally, I don't put you like in the position to be wrong. And you know what is interesting? I used to say like, look, you will never be wrong like because of me. Always you will be wrong because of you, because I'm here always. And I used to say something like so interesting. I used to say like, if you will ask me like before you're wrong, I will give you the solution. If you will come to me later, I will just give you like the absolution, the forgiveness, like a priest. You know what I mean? So just decide what's better for you.
That's brilliant. That's a
So you know
brilliant
what I
line.
mean? Yes, and something else. Some people say like, it was not just about like to understand something. I'm on a diet since like 3 months, and I want to give up. And it was like, you know what? If you give up yourself, because sometimes people say like, I would like to just like to stand by like for 1 week. And I used to say like, look, if you do yourself, you will like stand by 1 week, but the next week you will want to like starting again like in the same way. Let me do it for you. You tell me like I want to stop like for 1 week. I will give like a diet, non-diet, like to follow for 1 week. You will be like, it's gonna be very helpful. You will be not on a diet. We will, okay, can we stop? Like, okay, this week I want to eat like Saturday and Sunday. I want to have chocolate. That's fine. I will prepare something for you that is better as compared to everything you were going like to do yourself. And you can be sure that next week you will start again, and probably you will not put on weight, because there is something interesting, like Ismail, when you do diet like for a long period, is is not straight away when you start to eat like you put on weight, because it's like we have like kind of like set points, like your body will be used to be on a diet, so it's going to be like a kind of like resistance, like the weight. It's not straight away. Also, like when you lose weight, it's not straight away. But the same when you have to put on weight, it's not straight away.
It's not straight away.
That's
Yeah.
why I used to give you like on Sunday you eat like what you want like for your lunch, and people say like, I will put on weight. You will not. So you remember when I told you like too many calories like for a prolonged time. But if I give you like for 1 day, for a couple of days, like I will get like what, like the metabolism will be like raised, but it will not put on weight. So that's why when I told you like I play with calories, I use like an extra amount of calories to boost your metabolism. You know what I mean? This is where, anyway.
Absolutely.
I don't know if I asked, if I answered like your
No,
question about like strategies.
I mean, no, I mean it's a perfect answer, and I think you've gone into more than enough detail about it. And I think, but actually, it perfectly transitions onto the next question, which is, discuss to me, I suppose, what your greatest success story was. I mean, we all have one. I remember, for example, mine was, going back to when I was actually way before I was even actually a nutritionist in any sense of the word. Actually, when I was about 18 years old, I just graduated and become a personal trainer. And obviously, we're not really, as a personal trainer, you're not really advised to give dietary advice in the more professional sense, but you can suggest things. And what I remember having was this one client who came to me, and they were probably 107 kilos. That was their weight, and that was their resting weight. And man, they came up to me. They worked in banking, and they were very stressed. Their lifestyle was, and I could see from them that they needed a big change in their life. And I remember when I trained with them, it was very difficult, and they went through a lot of like mental resilience and a lot of challenges, back and forth, resistance on both ends. I didn't want to budge, he didn't want to budge, and we kept on clashing. And I remember it was one of the biggest tests emotionally as an 18-year-old, because I'm telling this 45-year-old man, hey, you got to do this, you got to listen to my way, because if you don't, then it's, you're going to regret this, not me. I don't regret. I'm happy with who I am. It's you that's going to be upset. And I don't know, it was one of the greatest success stories, because what I remember him going through all this hard work and just day and night focusing on it. And he, like you mentioned with the phone, always messaging me, sometimes to the point where, it got a bit too much. I remember just sometimes I'd be asleep, and then suddenly I get a call, and I'd be, what the hell's going on? I'd answer the call. But I liked helping him, and it meant a lot to me, because his mission was my mission. And I remember he lost so much weight within the year. I think he got to about 80 kilos, 85 kilos, around about there. He lost such terrific amounts of weight, and he looked incroyable. He looked amazing, and he felt amazing. And, it was one of the few success stories. And I think we've touched upon this before. Before we even jumped on this podcast, we had a little private one-to-one, and we discussed about this notion of like, what was it we discussed? It was just this feeling of success, like when they do things right and they achieve what they need to, it's such a rewarding feeling. And they don't come back, and when they don't come back, that was what I wanted to say. When they don't come back, that's the sign of a great nutritionist, I think. It's like they don't need to have you for, because I think that the sign of a poor nutritionist is the one that, I mean, they've had a client for maybe a few years, and they seem to continuously just be on this sort of Ferris wheel, or it just never ends. But rather, you actually want to give them the tools to succeed by themselves. You want to give them that confidence that when they go out by themselves, that they now know what to eat, what not to eat, and that you can put your hands up, you can walk away and say, hey, I've done my job amazingly. So I wanted to kind of touch upon what your great success story was in that sense.
Fantastic. I have a lot to tell about that. Yes. So first of all, let me tell you, you want me to start about some kind of successful history, for example, first example, isn't it?
Go for it.
Okay, first of all, let me tell you something. Okay, I told you nutrition is basic, but if you have to lose many kilograms, you can't without exercising. So this is an interesting point, because normally I used to say oh, should I be exercising on a diet if I want to lose weight? Normally, I would say to you diet is basic, but I would say yes, but if you want to lose 40, 50, 60 kilograms, no way to do without gym. No way. I mean gym, going to run. So this is a very important thing to know. If you want to lose every
any
time
physical activity,
history is of course appropriate physical activity, because it's not that I don't need to do something, because yes, but I'm struggling a lot. If I go on a pectoral, this kind of stuff, you don't have to do that. I need aerobic activity, because let's say that you need to lose fat. So if you do an anaerobic, because you're a personal trainer, I don't know if the other people know, but it's about if you do anaerobic activity, your body will continue to request you carbs, sugars. You don't need because it's I have my energy, my fats. Why should I use the carbs? I introduce every day. So I need to do a physical activity where I use my energy, my fats, aerobic activity. It is also easier. Running something light. It's time sometimes, because sometimes you say the activity helping you to lose weight is the longest one. So I can be kind of walking for 2 hours, and I will lose a lot of fat. So first of all, all my successful history are about people dieting and exercising. That's sure. Let me tell you something else. Also, successful history are about people cooking, or people having, I don't know, the wife cooking, because we said every day, for maybe 1 year, eating chicken breast, easy, with some broccoli, without fantasy, is not working. So sometimes when the people have the chance to go to, to a special restaurant, or have the partner cooking, this is a lot helpful. It's a lot helpful. So fantasy. So this kind of, I would say 3 things together. Like you say, so diet, exercising, and kitchen. You said kitchen. Yes, kitchen. So, but there is also something else. For example, I've, because 17 years, I've got many stories. I'm proud to tell you about history, is recent history. Okay, a friend I didn't see like for 5 years. Of course, like I'm in UK. This friend actually was born like in UK, but he was living in Italy for like for years.
Mhm.
He gave me a call like kind of like 1 year, like a few months ago, and he said like it was like already my patient. It was like I've got diabetes. Oh,
Mhm.
what was that? Like, can you help me? Because it was like overweight. We
Mhm.
start to work together. Actually, the family was helping, but it was like such a liar. And the wife was saying like, Gennaro, he's lying. Don't worry. Let's wait for him. I was saying like, look, his name is Vincenzo. Vincenzo, because when I tell you like, is everything okay? Would you like to have like some chocolate, maybe something? Are you hungry? Always Vincenzo will say, I'm okay. Do you like something? No, 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 I don't need nothing. Are you hungry? No, 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 it's okay. It's okay to diet. It's okay. Everything was okay. But he was not losing weight. And there was like, the wife was saying like, let's tell him like he's a liar. Don't worry about that. Let's wait. So in the first 3 months, he was looking like, just like, and I was like, that's fine. You are okay. You are okay. After 2.5 months, he start to lose weight. To be honest, like I would say something like that. I don't know if I have to say like he got COVID, and so he couldn't go to work, and his
Yeah.
wife like locked locked in like in a room like for 3 weeks, like like a prisoner. He was going like breakfast, lunch. In that three
Dinner.
weeks, he start to lose weight and he stopped to be a liar. After that, let me tell you, like less than 1.5, kind of like 1 year, like a few months, he lost 27 kilograms.
Wow. Wow.
27
Wow.
kilograms. And
Wow.
1.5 months ago, I said like, like we got it there, like now, and now we coming like to your point. I think like slowly, like you can go on your feet. You can. Are you gonna stop to see me? Yes,
Mhm.
we chat, but we can stay like all the life together. He was like, yes, but like I don't know, like my wife will not agree with that. I don't know if I'm putting on weight.
Mhm.
Calm down, calm down. So it was like, okay, let's try like to try. Can we try like to lose like some more kilograms? That's fine. But the interesting thing, like a couple of weeks ago, I was on holiday in Italy, and he asked me, can we meet like after 5 years? And I have we had a meeting, like like we went for a coffee after 5 years. But when we've been like meeting like every 2 weeks for 1 year, honestly, it was fantastic.
That
We had a
must have been
picture
amazing.
together. So
Wow.
this is like an amazing history. You know what I mean? And that there are many histories like that. Like people
Mhm.
losing. What I can tell you about like people like I'm not successful about losing weight when they have a motivation, Ismail.
Mhm.
When you have a motivation, it's crazy what you can do. I had like people losing like I have another story for you. Okay, people losing like like any motivation. It was like this man. It was like at that time was like kind of like 50 years old,
Mhm.
and he was like, no, I need to have an operation, surgery, and the doctor said like you should, it's better, if you lose like few kilograms.
Mhm.
And actually, he was losing. He was like very like committed. He was losing kilograms, but then it was happening. You know what? I'm okay with my leg. What do you think? I don't know. Like I'm kind of scared from this surgery. And my answer was like, let's wait like some more kilograms. Let's
Mhm.
see. And actually, he was losing like kind of like I don't remember like 12, 13 kilograms. And then
Wow.
he was like, I'm okay now, but the doctor still said like, my friend, it's your responsibility. So I'm not gonna tell you like you don't have like to get surgery.
Mhm.
And again, he was like coming to me. He was like, what should I do? And my answer was like, let's lose like some more kilograms. And so finally I've lost kind of like I don't remember 23, 24. Finally
Wow.
he didn't get surgery anymore. He
That's
was so
amazing.
happy, and still now he didn't put on weight. But then we are coming like to your question. I don't need like a patient is coming back, because the best patient is the one like I said, like the point is like to teach a patient like how to be healthy like without me, the
Mhm.
tools how to be healthy, like like keep like being avoiding to put on weight, and preventing like all nutrition related health issues.
Mm-hmm.
This is the way.
Mm-hmm.
And also like, because may say like, yes, but your job is like, like, come on, you get money like from patient. Yes, but I don't need like one patient is coming back, because for one like not coming back, going all around like healthy, how many
Yeah.
people will look at him, oh, what did you do? Like, who can,
Yeah.
I don't know, who can help me with like that? So yes, so this is the answer.
No, it's a great, I mean, it's a great answer, and what a great story as well. I mean, it perfectly actually goes into the next question, which actually, touches upon that kind of difference between the holistic approach and I suppose the clinical approach. Because you mentioned that doctor who was kind of insisting on this notion of surgery. And I think that that's a big thing that I've noticed. There's a big difference between, let's say, the holistic nutritionists and say the clinical approach, where doctors kind of just say, well, you know what, a gastric bypass might be just the only option. You need to do this and then you will lose weight, X, Y, Z, done. I wanted to kind of touch upon, because you mentioned in your bio that you are a holistic nutritionist in that sense. And what would you say are the advantages of having a holistic approach over the clinical approach? If you have a good, yeah.
Yes, we said about prevention. So it means
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
you have like a natural like way like to about like self-healing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So holistic approach means that like if you look, I want also to tell you something about like about supplements. So if we your body has not to like to forget about like how to do the stuff. So for
Mm-hmm.
example, if I give like every day like vitamins,
Mm-hmm.
your body will forget about the way like to extract like vitamins for food. So the same about like your immune system. You go, for example, like you got temperature, and straight away paracetamol, this kind of stuff, like antibiotics. I mean, like holistic approach means, I don't know, there are different examples, but this is about like to make sure that your body will not forget how to do stuff.
By itself,
This
yeah.
is like
Yeah.
an holistic approach. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it's also like when you, for example, like there are some kind of diets now they don't do anymore. When you take like a lot of like tablets with like some kind of like, like drugs, they will push your metabolism, this kind of stuff, like it's dangerous. You know what
Mm-hmm.
is happening? When you remove all this stuff over time, we will put on weight because it's like your body was not doing like itself.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a holistic approach is about like to make sure that your body will always like know how to deal with everything it's already like able to do.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, yeah, people often underestimate this, the power of your own body. I mean, I always try to make this argument with my clients whenever I've had them, is to explain, listen, your body has been has essentially, if you look at the science behind it, has been on this planet for millions of years. Essentially been getting ready and getting essentially planning around this environment. And so this notion that somehow, I mean obviously there are some great advances in modern medicine, but we can't ignore the sophistication almost of the human body in order to heal itself and really to manage itself,
Yeah.
and really to teach people how to accomplish that sort of self-healing. I think is very, very, very important in this day and age, particularly where everything that we do, I mean, even there's this old saying, I don't know if you've ever seen this. I want to tell you something. Actually, this is a very interesting one. I remember one client who was from France. I had a very good client of mine, and I remember speaking to her, and she said this very fascinating thing to me. And it was in French, but I'll translate in English. And it was, it's like there's this thing missing in the UK, definitely, which is feel good medicine. And it's,
Mm.
this notion that, you go to the doctors in England, you have a bellyache, let's say, and you go to the doctors and they'll immediately start thinking about all the medical responses to this
Yeah.
bellyache. Everything has to be from that clinical perspective. And what people forget to say is, hey, have you ever had just a teaspoon of honey with lemon? Maybe that might help. Or maybe, something that might make you feel good. There are other ways of doing it that may not have direct responses in terms of dealing with this problem, but it will give you um some sort of relief from these symptoms. And so I think that's a very important route to take as well. And I
Yeah.
think it shouldn't be ignored, particularly in modern medicine. I think today we have become very clinical in our approach, and I suppose that's not necessarily the most problematic, but it does open the door to a lot of criticism, and it can end up in a situation where, for example, people with high cholesterol, for example, are immediately put on statins over this notion of having a
Good
better
point.
diet. It's
I,
crazy. My
le,
mother
le,
is a good example of this. She recently had high cholesterol. She had her gallbladder removed about a few years ago, and immediately the doctors, statins.
but you know what? Let me tell you something. Why they do that? Because, okay, it's about like rules. Okay, for low, if you have like high cholesterol, as a doctor, I can give you. Why I'm gonna give you if there is like the chance of a diet? Because if I, as a come on, is a general practitioner. I would say like, you know what? We can get like a lowered cholesterol from a diet. Then you will tell me, oh, so you can help me out with that. Like you can give like, I will be like, I don't have time. Come on, like so it's easier. Like it's
Yeah.
easier. Like the government like let me like to prescribe you like statins. That's fine. I'm
Yeah.
okay. You
There you
know,
go.
this is the problem. Let me tell you something also about supplement, because I didn't say like no, neither then is important to supplement, neither the opposite. But the problem like here UK, like sometimes the people, I saw like people having like I don't know, tens of like supplements. And when I ask you know what is that? Like, oh, let me, I don't remember. You know what? So you need to get supplements because, for example, like sometimes if you have like like a lack of calcium, like you need to take it. It's not that, oh, I'm not gonna get like from food. Sometimes you need
You
for
need it,
example, like
yeah.
UK we need like vitamin D.
Absolutely.
In
Yeah,
the
yeah,
south
yeah,
of
yeah, yeah.
Italy we don't need. So you don't say like like I will get from because it's a different point, I will get from food. The problem like you need sun to activate. It's not about food. So it's about to understanding when you need to supplement. The vitamin B
Absolutely.
is not just food. So
Uh-huh.
sometimes the people need to know. And also, for example, there are like many studies. They say that like like COVID, like the people don't get vitamin D, blah 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 blah. Is like immune system related. Is when vitamin D is immune system related, when it's very low. So
Very low,
if
yeah.
it's like low but not that much, is not relating to immune system. But in this country, many people, I don't want to say which people, just to be like politically correct, but there are some people with like a very low vitamin D, and over time they will
Absolutely.
be negatively affected, like about like the immune system. So in this
Absolutely.
case, easy to understand when I need and which kind of vitamin mineral I need. In this case, I have to take. In the other case,
Absolutely.
I don't have to, because
Hmm.
some kind of vitamins like your body will flush out. Some others will be like affecting your liver. So you need to know
Hmm.
like, oh, because
Hmm.
sometimes people say yes, but what's the point? These vitamins, minerals, like I will flush out.
Hmm.
This depending on. Okay.
Actually, you make a great
Yeah.
point. I wanted
So
to actually ask you. This is going to be one of the one of the last few questions, I suppose. But before we ask the last few questions, I want to quickly ask one last one, which is on the main topic of if as a nutritionist, then there are some people who are going to be listening to this podcast, just people, everyday people who are just looking to say, what can I take from this, what can I learn from this, and what quick advice can you give someone? They live in the UK, they have a generally British diet, which involves very it's not exactly Mediterranean, dare I say. And so what would you get advice to these people in terms of just a quick bit of advice in terms of lifestyle, in terms of supplementation? What are the ideal kind of supplementation that you would advise? For example, I would always advise, always, no matter who you are, to always take omega-3 supplementation, because I suppose even if you have a lot of fish in your diet, let's say I
but
have some friends who live in Sardinia or from Napoli, and they live right next to the Mediterranean. They'll just catch some sardines, they'll be fine, they'll get their omega-3. But realistically, for the average everyday person, I will always recommend omega-3 supplementation, because the ratio today is really, really poor, particularly with, say, a Western diet, where the research has shown that we just don't get enough omega-3, and we really,
yeah.
really need that. It's great for anti-inflammatory purposes, and also for a whole host of other benefits that, the research is probably, if I were to print it all out, would probably reach
Oh,
my roof, so
definitely.
there's a lot of research on it. So I always promote this as like a fundamental supplementation that everyone should consider in their life. But what would you also consider then? What advice would you
Yes.
provide?
We already say about vitamin D.
Hmm.
We can avoid like to take some vitamin D. At least you should take like during like the the winter months.
Absolutely.
The omega-3, come on. Fish here is like, first of all, is expensive. Secondly,
Yes.
if you, the average population, how many people introduce like 3 times a week like fish? Come on. So I would say like you have to take omega-3 also, because like it's about, you said like omega-3, because you got like omega-6 and
Yeah.
omega-3. So sometimes people say like, so I can get like some nuts. Yes, but in the nuts seed, like you have like most like omega-6, then omega-3. So I would say like vitamin D for sure, omega-3 for sure. Like
For sure.
I
Yeah.
don't know, like lately I would say like, because let's say something about vitamin C, because like during the pandemic, the people were getting crazy about vitamin C.
Yeah.
Also vitamin C, come on. Some people say like, oh, can I take like 2,000 like milligrams of vitamin C daily? Come on, are you crazy or what? You would like to shut, to kill your stomach. So let's say like kind of like at the most like 500, or
Yeah.
during the winter, or if you get, because what is that, like if you get sick, or during the winter you need like more vitamin C. So let's start from like 250 like to 500. Let's
Hmm.
like increase on. Also, are you a smoker? So you need for vitamin C, because when you're a smoker, it's like you consume vitamin C. So the more you smoke, the more you
Hmm.
need vitamin C. So let's start from a basic point, depending on like the people like body. If you're like 1 meter 50 or 1 meter like 90,
Hmm.
let's say
Hmm.
like between like 250 like 500. Then
Hmm.
are you a smoker? You take more. Easy winter, you take more. Are you sick? You take more. Of
Hmm.
course, it's not just vitamin C, but I don't want to say like, because it's already like enough famous this vitamin C. But if I have
Absolutely.
to say
Absolutely.
like a kind of vitamins that the people tend to take, but let's not to forget like the vitamin C is also from food. So I
Hmm.
I,
You get
I
a
mean
plenty
like
of it. Yeah, yeah.
like
Fruits and
uh,
vegetables, they will
yes,
provide them. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, of course we need to say about like I mean like the vegetable fruit here. So to be honest, like sometimes I used to say like here UK sometimes it's better like to get like like dried fruits, like as a compare like to, it's like we say like, let me tell you something else. We say like oh I have always like everyday banana, because bananas containing like potassium, like magnesium. I used to say like in the country when they pick them up, they have like potassium. Not come on, not here. You know what I mean? Not here at all.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. All that
Because
storing processes and yeah.
they are like kind of like green when they take them. So when they arrive here, like the potassium is like
Yeah,
like
I see what you mean. Yeah, yeah,
so
yeah.
you know the point.
I
So
get the
it's
point.
very
It's a
important to know
yeah.
about also about food.
I would also advise, you touched upon all these kind of recommendations for supplementation. I would also add, particularly for women, there are rates of anemia that are just, unacceptable within the UK, and also just the general Western world is
Good,
it's
good
something
point.
that, yeah, very something to also recommend, particularly if they're premenopausal. So if they're still going through menstruation, to always recommend a few iron supplements, and if they're having that, to have that with vitamin C, that always is a great one to have. So that's for the audience to have. I'm gonna
No, but
finally, yeah, go
no,
ahead.
because it's a very good point, because you didn't say like, what's the point about like iron? Because sometimes, especially like women, like, uh, when they have like their menstruation, like they have like a very low iron.
Hmm.
The point
Hmm.
is that like in Italy, this is not happening, because I mean, in Italy and in Spain, like the Mediterranean diet, like is a lot based like on legumes.
Hmm.
I mean, here people, like they don't really eat like lentils. Like I mean, they eat like just for breakfast, like some beans. But the one like the ants one, like with tomatoes. I don't know how much iron is in that kind of like canned, like you know. So I mean, like this is something like we can just kind of like compensate like by nutrition.
Yeah.
If these women like eat a couple of times like for lunch, like kind of like lentils, just to say something, like, they're gonna
Hmm.
compensate, like, and they're not gonna have like in that period this kind of like iron lack. So
Uh-huh.
this is a way, like, we're not talking about like supplement, but if they don't do that, probably in that period of the month they need like to supplement some iron.
Absolutely.
We say the
Absolutely.
different
That's a great
supplementation
point.
or food when we can.
I
Yeah,
always advise food, but only if necessary. Do we? Ooh, let me just see. Oh, there you go. Yeah, so what you're saying is, yeah, always recommend food over supplementation, but whenever possible, well, whenever necessary, I suppose,
yeah.
supplementation. You perfectly rounded it up, Gennaro, and I think that kind of adds up to our kind of final question. And it's a little question that I've started a little tradition on in this podcast, which is a funny little question. So I hope you don't mind. It's just a little thing before we end the podcast, and it's the very simple question. Let's say you, my friend, are on a desert island, and you can only bring three foods with you. What would they be and why?
Okay, let me tell you. First of all, I can assume like on this island, I don't have like to assume like I'm gonna have a fire, I'm gonna have like something. So I would say like first of all, water. This is like this is like question, because we can survive like much longer. Like if you have water. If you don't have water, we can have like as much food as we want. Like we're not gonna survive. So water,
I
for sure,
love that.
water. I mean like. Second question, we need something, I mean, like, first of all, like concentrated about nutrients. So not heavy. So we need something like not perishable, because I may say like I can also have a fire, but if I want me like meat, like I need to cook. Let's put I have a fire, but anyway, how long time I can take? Like, so I need something containing like that I don't need like to cook, that is not perishable, that is containing like, of course, like carb, that is also containing like some proteins, and it's also containing like some fats, maybe good fats, like what we were talking about, omega-3, omega-6, and also like some other like vitamins and minerals. So I would
Hmm.
say like the second and third, like food. It's like nuts and seeds that are like the same category. They're containing like vitamin, mineral, carbs, like good fat, this kind of stuff. And dried fruits, you know, like they containing apricot, this kind of stuff. I don't know, like they containing like vitamin and minerals. So we said like three kind of things that we can use like to survive, like I think like kind of long. Yeah.
Oh, no, it's
Yeah.
a great perspective. No, that's fantastic. Listen, Gennaro, it's been an absolute pleasure. And thank you so much for coming on to this podcast. I'm grateful for the time that you've taken out of your day to discuss your practice and also answering these very, very, at times, very fascinating questions and also the great answers. And I'll remember that quote now forever. I think it was, you come to me for, what was it, penance? I'll never forget that. That was resilience of penance. I will never forget that line. I think it will stick with me for the rest of my life. So that's a great line. And I hope every nutritionist can take up on that and they can use that for their clients as well. What I'm going to do is I'm going to post a link to Gennaro's pages all on the description. They're all going to be available for all of you to check out and to message him. And if anyone here is interested in taking on Gennaro as a client, taking on Gennaro as a nutritionist, if you're a client that is seeking a nutritionist, and potentially Gennaro has sold himself very well today. In that sense, all the description is there on the description for you to check out, and I would highly recommend you do, because he's a very fascinating individual, and I hope to have you on again. I hope maybe next week or maybe the week after to have you on for another hour, because it's really a pleasure to speak to you. And I just want to say thank you so much again, and we'll be sharing the podcast very soon, so everyone will be seeing that. So again, thank you so much, Gennaro, and I wish you a very, very lovely day. And and I'm wishing everyone as well a great, great afternoon and morning, day, evening, and night. All the best.
Thank you. It was a great pleasure, like for me as well. That just let me just tell you, I will always have like something like to talk about when it's about nutrition. So it would be like a pleasure, like to be like again, like guest your podcast. Okay, so thank you.
Perfect. Thank you. All the best.
Okay.